Okay. Hello, everybody. We are live here. My name is Adam. I'm the co-owner of Sharp Retention, and we're live here with Mr. Kevin Smits. Super excited to have Kevin on today. One of our best clients and one of my favorite people overall. What I love about Kevin is he's got a great sense of humor, and if you're running a big business but you're not having a good time, you are doing it wrong. So Kevin knows how to do it right in a lot of ways. And some of you may have seen on Facebook, and we're going to be recording this, so we're going to blast this out after the fact as well. But we're going to be talking about how to live a leveraged lifestyle in real estate. And this is something Kevin knows a lot about. We're actually doing this Google Hangout right now, and Kevin's in Puerto Rico, and he spends the majority or a good chunk of his year there in that tropical paradise with his family, just living the dream, So really, we're just here to add some value. And in your business right now, if you're overworked or you're stressed out or you're trying to figure out how to get that Sunday off every week, or take weekends off, or better yet, hey, I'm going to take 3 days off a week, or 2 weeks or a month off a year. If you're trying to increase your income and your profitability and your lifestyle, because at the end of the day, time, wealth is really an abundance of time, because that's the one thing we can't get back. So if you're looking to increase not only your money but your time and live an amazing life, you're going to get value out of this hangout today. So again, Kevin is a mega agent for one of the top real estate teams in the entire state of Colorado. Him and his wife Amy are master marketers, and Kevin's really the visionary of the real estate team. He's got over 30 years experience. And again, just a great guy, one of my favorite people. So Kevin, thanks so much for being on the Hangout with us here today, buddy. And I just want to kind of, we were talking about right before the Hangout, like, hey, no need to mess around. Let's kind of jump right into, asking you kind of the first question I want to ask, which is, what's different about you, Kevin, and your and Amy's real estate team?
You bet. I think a lot of it just comes down to, when we started this out, we didn't want to be in real estate. It wasn't our first choice. We had been in software for a long time and said, if we're going to do something like this, we've got to build it, and we've got to build it big. And once you've got it built, then you've got to get out of it. A wise man once told me that when you go into any business, the first thing that you should do is plan your exit strategy. Because otherwise, you may want too much. What you wanted at first and what you want once you get into it are two totally different things. So, we kind of planned this a long time ago, and it's been 12 years in real estate now that we've just been building. We've doubled almost every year, and that's just through really being aggressive.
Right.
When the downturn hit and everybody else went and got second jobs or got out completely, we decided that we were going to double our marketing.
Nice.
Because that's the time, when things are down, that's the time to really push through, and that's when you gain market share.
Yep. Love it. That's a great point, because I remember that time, and I remember just from our personal business, it was the agents like you that didn't stop loving and appreciating on their clients, because they're like, well, this is when everybody stops. Like, everybody gives closing gifts and does marketing and whatnot when everybody's happy and the market's great and all the rest of it. This is the time to really increase your market share, show your clients you love them, because when it comes back, it's going to come back tenfold.
Right.
You have to have the cash flow, and you have to have the perspective and not have the fear to do that. Is it a better time to buy a house now, or in 08 or 09 right after the crash, right? You got to have that foresight. So where did you get that? Like, how did you have the foresight to act when everybody else was afraid and perception was telling you that, hey, maybe push back, maybe get a different job? How did you guys where did you get that insight that, like, hey, we're going to push hard now even though it's, times are tough?
Sure. Well, I think first it comes back to that whole planning, discussion that, if you're spending everything you're making, you're doing it wrong, right? And it's kind of like your schedule. If you have 8 hours to do something, it'll take that whole 8 hours.
Yep.
right? If you block it off and say, hey, I got 1 hour to do this, or 15 minutes, or Darren Hardy calls them jam sessions, right? And we're going to do 15-minute jam session and just rip this out. It's the same thing when you're planning your life. It's like, look, I've got to have money because I know real estate's cyclical, right? I mean, we've all learned that now that, hey, it's up and down. You know, we had the tech bust that, you know, for resort homes anyway, that was a big one. Mid-'80s, the oil companies went away, so every Texan went back to Texas.
Right, right.
Houses in Colorado. So we've seen that cycle more. But what we're seeing is that every time we get a little drop, it goes up very shortly thereafter. So all you have to do is be able to weather the storm.
Right.
And so our goal has always been, look, have enough in reserves that if we know this is 3 years, we've got enough money to market the way we want to, in the bank, ready to go, and you know, hopefully we can make enough to live on the sales.
Right. Now, what's your system for making sure you have enough cash in the bank? I feel like a lot of realtors, even big agents, kind of fly by the seat of their pants, spend this, do this, get the new shiny object, right? How do you guys, you know, like for Sarah and I, we have every 4 weeks, we have an hour-long phone call where all we do is look at our P&L and we investigate it with our CPA and our bookkeeper on the line. And, you know, that's the ultimate scorecard, right? Our P&L, really. And so we just implemented that system this year. And let me tell you, it's been really a game changer to make sure we have enough core capital in the bank, you know, for at least 12 to 24 months of our employees' payroll and splits and all the rest of it. So what's your guys' system? Because I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of realtors, even if they have the foresight of like, okay, you know, things are tough and whatnot, we want to be able to do this, but we don't have the cash because we didn't pay attention. So what would you recommend is a good system in place, or what's your system in place for you guys making sure that you have that capital, that liquid capital in the bank?
Sure. Well, you know, it goes down to knowing your numbers, like you just said. And, you know, a lot of it, and we talked about this before the call, but you have to inspect what you expect, right? And we get sold so many shiny objects in the real estate world. It's really kind of sad, right? And so if you follow the leader with that and you go, gosh, you know, well, here's another shiny object, I'm going to follow that, you lose focus. And what we do is we start planning for next year in June.
Okay.
So we've got a 6-month head start for what our goals are, what our volume goals are, you know, what's it going to cost to get there, right? Because as you increase, you've got to increase your marketing budget,
right,
in order to attract more and more people, right? If you stay at the same marketing level, you know, unless you get a ton of referral and past clients that come in and bounce that up,
right?
But we're in a resort market. You know, there's not a lot of repeat and referral. It's probably 30% of our business. But that's a hard thing to grow.
Right, right. Can't really grow that big.
Yeah, so we're watching the P&L, and what we tell everybody with a shiny new object is, come talk to us in September, because that's when we make our budgetary decisions for the next year. So, you know, anytime somebody calls with a shiny new object, it's like, great, you know what, I'm really interested in that, why don't you call me in September?
Nice.
You know how many call in September?
I was just going to ask that question. Right? Not that many, yeah. And they just showed you how much they want to do business with you, right, when they don't do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
And I think that's huge. So let me stop and just make just a quick couple points there that I feel like even people that want to do don't do. It's like you said September. I mean, how many people are still making their business plan and their budget at the end of January of that year that they're implementing it? So, right. I mean, what I'm really hearing from you, Kevin, and it's not sexy, it's simple, but it's about doing what we know we should do, is that you're prepared. You know, 4 months I mean, you're ahead of me and Sarah. We do it October 1st. But you're 4 months before the year even starts. You know what your marketing budget's going to be. You're making your business plan. You're on it, right? And I love what you said about focus. I just heard an acronym for focus. I just started reading this book, Commercial Real Estate Investing for Dummies. and he said something interesting. He said focus is a great acronym that he says, it says follow one course until successful. So follow one course until successful. So when the new shiny object comes and they try to hit you in the face with it, because everybody and their mother's trying to sell to the realtors, including myself, I guess. But it's like, hey, follow one course until successful. Before you buy the 10 shiny objects, follow one course until successful. And it seems like you guys do that very well, and you plan in advance. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, and you have to have a marketing calendar, right? I mean, in real estate, it's like, what am I going to do when, and when am I going to do it?
Right, right.
You know, give you an example, postcards, right? People send out one postcard a month, and it's usually not a very good postcard.
Right.
Right? But it's like, if everybody has what I call listing season, right? It's usually in the spring. Okay, there's a few markets like Florida and Arizona where they have two. It's when the snowbirds come in and when the snowbirds leave.
Right.
Right? So why not take your 12 postcards and concentrate them over a 3-month period when you know it's listing season and people are thinking about selling them, instead of dripping one out every once in a while? You're going to crush your competition because you're in front of them, you're in front of them, you're in front of them.
Right.
And you know what? You can still send the card because you're going to be able to afford to the rest of the year.
Right.
But
right.
First, you've got to get that momentum going. And you know, I think a lot of times we're just not taught well in this industry. So
a lot of different coaches and coaching companies and different ideas, and it's very interesting what works versus what's being promoted.
Right.
So to speak, and we've had experience, you and I, with a lot of different companies like that. So, talking about marketing here, and I want to get kind of to our next nugget here. So, if you want to give us just another example of one of the strategies that everybody that watches this Google Hangout, because it's going to get aired again and all the rest of it. So, somebody that's watching this Hangout, what's something that everyone here can use in their market. I know that you're a big outside of the box marketing guy, so what's maybe a strategy or technique that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Sure. Well, one of my favorites is listing presentations, right? Everybody does them backwards. And what I mean by that is we go in and we give control to the homeowner, because what's the first thing they want to do? They want to take you on the tour, right? So we're going to go on the tour, and I've got a half an hour with you. So we go on the tour, and I've got about 5 minutes left at the end of the tour to explain how I'm going to sell your house.
Right.
And quite honestly, if you're not going to list with me, I don't give a crap what your house looks like. Right? I mean, it's like, yeah, I'll see it someday if I have to, but that's not my thing. Right. So don't do the tour. Sit down, talk about your marketing plan, talk about what you're going to do, and really it's role reversal in our listing presentation. I've already sent them a pre-listing book that says, gosh, guys, this is what I'm going to do to market your home and get it sold. So once I get there, it's really just about, here's what I think the price is going to be. This is what we should go on the market at. And you've got to do a few things for me, right? You've got to get the property staged. You have to have it pre-inspected, and you have to put a home warranty on it. Right. Real simple, right? But if you don't want to do those three things for me, are you going to be a really good client in the long run, right? And I think one of the things is the takeaway, if you will, is you have to have an ideal client profile. You have to have some rules of engagement, right? Is this a person I really want to work with, or is this going to be the person who's a big pain in my ass?
So it's about having standards there, huh?
Exactly, and you should have the same standards when you hire team members. Right? I know you're a big core value guy. We're big core value people. And it's like, if they don't fit your core values, and we've really narrowed ours down to 3 now. We used to have 10. Nobody could memorize them. We're realtors, right? We don't memorize that kind of stuff. So it really comes down, and it just came out of a brand new Patrick Lencioni book that if you haven't read it, read it. It's called The Ideal Team Player. And he said everybody was ripping off our core values when we were going out and doing this thing. He said, at first we're like, well, you're just lazy. And then he finally realized that why wouldn't they want ours? They're easy. There's 3 of them, and they're all one word, right? So you want team members that are humble. You want and good humility, right? You don't want the big braggart guy, and you also don't want the team member that never takes credit. Okay, because that's not part of our culture. We want to celebrate your successes, right? So the second one is being smart, right? Being people smart. And the third is being hungry. So if you're not all 3 of those, you're not going to fit on our team, right? I mean, I can't have the person that sells 1 or 2 properties a year because it takes the professionalism level on my team down. Right? So we have minimum expectations on a monthly basis that you have to hit. And if you don't, we take your leads away first and put you on probation. Any new leads. You get to keep your other ones and convert them, hopefully. But you've got to have standards. You have to have standards for everything.
So what a concept. Standards, right? 3 simple core values, and then having consequences for people that don't take the right actions.
Right. And here's the cool thing, right? If you have standards and you apply them and you manage them, that's all we manage anymore, right? We manage the expectations, we manage the activity level, not the activity itself. So I can tell if you're making 10 phone calls a day in your hour of power, you're not making 10 phone calls. Right. Especially if I look at how many contacts you've got and then how many have actually created appointments. So if you're making 10, I'm going to reach out to you, and it's a motivation issue.
Got it.
Plain and simple. You're not making enough calls. And I can show you how many calls it's going to take to get an appointment. I can tell you how much that appointment is worth, so how much dialing is worth per hour, right? Those are metrics that we've got. So if it's not motivation, you're making the calls but you're not getting contacts, you're just calling at the wrong time of day. Right? So we're going to adjust when you're calling. If you're making the calls, getting contacts but not getting appointments, that's a scripting issue.
Got it.
So see how simple it gets when you know what the heck you're looking at.
Right. And you being, your job basically is you're a professional inspector, So otherwise you get in, because I used to do this back in the day, try to motivate somebody that doesn't need motivation. Their problem is the script, right? Or you try to get somebody a good strategy like a script, but they're not making enough calls, and when they make them, they're doing it so unenthusiastic. They need the motivation, right? So you have to know by professionally inspecting what's going on, which issue you're handling. Otherwise, you're just wasting your breath when you get on a one-on-one or a brief coaching with that agent.
Right. And, the one-on-one is really just going through and saying, gosh, guys, I see you've made this many calls this week. That's up or down from last week. You've got this many appointments. Tell me about the outcome. Right? And what we want to do is we want to create this, it's a vacuum of excuses. Right? It's like, I know when you're blowing sunshine out my butt.
Right.
Because it all comes out in the results. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that as we go through this together, and going back just a step, our hiring process has now become like a month and a half long.
Interesting.
Right? Because if you do a job right now, how often is it that you're going to make a paycheck in the first couple of weeks in real estate? Right? Not going to happen.
Right.
So what we do is we purposely elongate the process to make sure that you've got the wherewithal to make it happen. And we interview you. We have our coach interview you. We have people on our staff do it as a group because you're going to have to interact in that team.
Yep.
Right? And that's the team you're interacting with, and we want to see how you are in that group.
Right.
You know, are you the quiet, meek one that gets thrown under the bus? Are you the outspoken one? Where do you fit in the culture?
And would you say, do you place any level of importance at all? I know we just started doing this on getting team buy-in too, right? Like if everybody on your team doesn't like this person, even if you or Amy think they're great, you know, you probably think about going a different direction because they're going to be interacting with that team daily.
Right, right. And it's hard as your team grows and stays with you, right? I mean, a lot of places have turnover issues. We've lost like 3 agents in 5 years.
Wow.
Because they're making money, right? And it's funny because people always think people change companies because of the split. And it's never about the split. It's about the culture in that office.
Interesting. So, you know, we have, you know, my belief has always been culture eats strategy for lunch, right? Culture is culture is it. So, you know, would you mind sharing some of the things that, you know, systems and things you guys have in place to make sure that, you know, when people are busy having too much fun and growing too much, our philosophy has been they're busy having too much fun and experiencing too much growth to even think about leaving us.
Right.
Would you mind mentioning maybe a couple things you guys do to have such a great culture at your company? Because to only lose 3 agents in 5 years, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, and one moved away because she got married, and her husband to be lived in Texas. So like we lost her because of that.
Got it.
But you know, I think we're not really. I wish we were better. We're not great at recognizing, like calling out and saying, "Wow, you did a fantastic job on this." And I wish we were better. And we're that's one of the things we're working on, right? Because if you're not working on stuff, you're still, and you're gonna get passed up.
Right.
But you know, you always hear that you shouldn't make your team your family, right? Because when they leave, it's like losing a kid.
Right.
But we've really had, I think, the pleasure to be really involved in our team members' lives. You know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, getting through, you know, death of a friend or a family member, celebrating a wedding, you know, a birth, whatever it might be. Shout out to Sarah. And, you know, it's that deep interaction. You know, there's a coaching book, and I'll have to figure out the title of it. I've been reading it for a while, but it's on a Kindle, so I never see the cover. But it says the best question that you can ask one of your employees is, it's actually an acronym, AWE. It's "and what else?" Right? It just takes you deeper and deeper, and you keep asking that until they're like, gosh, there really isn't anything else.
Right.
But you know, we do like many others where we know what your favorite Starbucks drink is, and you know, once in a, you know, we don't do it on a schedule because it seems contrite when you do it on a schedule. So it's kind of random, and it's where we're setting up a past client follow-up that does the same thing, because you know, we were talking earlier about past clients and referral partners, and what we budget for those people is usually next to nothing, especially in real estate, right? It's we're going to send you, you know, a newsletter, right? We're going to send you, you know, some sort of crap that you don't really care about. And so instead, what we did this year is we said, look, we're going to spend $210 to $250 per past client. Okay. And we are randomly sending out 6 or 7 $20 to $25 items throughout the year. just to maintain that connection. And yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and the cool thing, so we're actually sending them to their office
Where other people see it.
Right, because if I send it to your home, nobody sees it at your home.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So how did you pick these clients? Did you say randomly sending, or did you randomly select them? Or these are your good referral partners, good past clients?
Right, yep. And they're people that, for us, people that have sold in our area,
right,
it's a second home, right? So once they sell, they're not really coming back.
Right, right.
So it's the people that have bought that we really target.
Got it. That's beautiful. I love that. I would just talked about that at the mastermind I was at. That was the entire thing I was teaching. It's called our Gold Group Touch Monitor System. We do the same thing as you guys. We send out throughout the year a few things of items of value randomly, to our best people, and I think that is absolutely amazing. We just implemented this system, so it's really, and we got that idea from the book. I don't know if you read the book, The Zombie Loyalists, but zombies, zombie loyalists are people that love your brand and your service so much that they're never gonna leave you, right? Your raving fan clients or disciples, if you will. The book, The Zombie Loyalist, so he said that zombies love brains. And brain, I don't mean to be in acronym land here, but brains stands for bringing random amazement into normal situations, right? So when you're sending clients items of value, like you said, not just junk, but you're sending them something randomly to think about them and whatnot, that's huge. It keeps you top of mind. It shows them that you care, and it's a system, right? It's something you can put into place in September when you do your planning, where you're not like, maybe I should call this client, maybe I should touch this person. It's a system in place where these clients are getting loved on, and you set it and forget it, right? So right. It's beautiful.
Well, and what a great combo platter, right? You've got Cutco as a closing gift is what we do, and weird, I know. Because of the lifetime ability, and we get kind of a double, triple, quadruple benefit out of it because we are in a rental market, right? We're in a resort market where people rent out their property. Mm-hmm. So lo and behold, they pull out a knife and it's got my name on it.
Yep.
Right? I win.
Yep.
I always say that's the name of the game, right? It's like Big Daddy. What's the name of this game? I win.
Well, that's my favorite game.
Yeah. That's the name of the game, and that's how everybody should be playing it. Because if you're not playing to win, you don't want the frickin' participation trophy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't line your pockets with gold.
Yep. I'm with you. So I got another question too, Kevin, lined up. I wanted to really get out here, and we're still looking good on time. So I wanted to ask, what do you do really well that if other agents implemented it, maybe went over went over some already, your focus, your business planning, your Gold Group marketing with the 6 to 7 items of value, best $250 you're ever going to spend in your life. What are some other things, if you want to touch on, that you do really well, that if other agents would implement in their life and business, that would really, be a game changer for them?
Yep. I think one of the big ones is just you've got to be able, if you're going to have a team, right? And I'm just talking team people right now. If you're going to have a team, you have to have enough leads to produce what you need to produce, right? And everybody is caught up and always talks about conversion rate and things like that. And it's like, what I found is with internet leads, you just don't know, right? It's like lead conversion rate can go from 1.5% to say 10%, and it's you boil through the leads until you get to the green, right? So I don't care how much my funnel has to be filled or overfilled. What I'm looking at is what goes in my pocket at the end of the day. And, I guess with us, we right now in our little town, we generate about 800 new buyer leads a month.
Wow.
that's something that we do well. Now, we have to get more leverage, right? And we talked about leverage before, but you need more leverage to get those leads taken care of. Right now, we're generating enough for, like, if I were in Minneapolis, or somewhere else out there, Denver, that would be enough for about 30 agents.
Got it.
Okay, we're running with 8. But we sold 180 properties last year, 183. Wow. This year the goal is 300. So I know I've got a gap between what my team currently can do or is doing and what my goal is. And so you hire to that gap, right? So you go to your team, you say, gosh, guys, what are you going to produce this year? What's your goal? What's your stretch goal? We walk them through that exercise, and then we add that all up, and then we look at what our goal, Amy and I, what we want to do this year, and what's the gap.
Got it.
So if it's 75, I know I need 3 people because each one of my people on a minimum expectation has to hit 25 a year. Right. So they have to sell 2 a month.
Got it. I love that. So it's a reverse engineering process, basically. It's like, your numbers, your goal, and then, okay, so this is what we need. So going backward, we need this to hit that. And so do you say to be on your team, you have to close at least 2 homes a month, 25 deals a year?
Correct. Yep. And what we did is we went through the MLS too, because there's seasonality involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't necessarily expect you to sell 2 or 3 in January when we can't show anything, right? Because it's all rented.
Right.
So what we did is we went through we took the seasonality statistics, the percentage that is sold per month, and applied it to our minimum number.
Got it.
January you sell 1, but when you get into August and September, those are 3 and 4 sales per month.
Got it. As long as they get to 25, doesn't matter how they start, how they finish the year, right?
Exactly. Yeah. My goal is to have 36, 40, 48.
Right.
That's the number where I'd be really happy.
Got it. Love it. And again, what I'm seeing too, kind of a recurring theme is standards. It's you guys have a standard on your team, 25 deals, or there's consequences, come to Jesus talk, or maybe they have to find a new team or a better position. Is that sound right?
Yeah, we release you. We release you to your next experience, whatever that might be.
And what's your opinion on I feel like some people are afraid of that. They'll keep people around that they think they're making money on, but they're really not, because that person's negatively impacting the culture of the team. And when you have a business and a standard, even like a lot of the mortgage brokers we work with, they're W-2s. They're getting benefits. They're getting health benefits. If they're not doing at least 4 or 5 loans a month or whatever that company standard is, they don't keep that mortgage broker around. They're gone. And I love that concept for a real estate team, because I think a lot of agents perceive that they might be making money off this person who's doing their 4 deals a year, which is insanely low, even below industry standard, and they keep that person around at the demise of the culture of their team. So we actually, if we have to let somebody go on our team, we actually turn it into promoting it as almost a good thing. It's like sending a message to the rest of our team, like, hey, you know how we're committed to A-plus talent, A players only, and you get it done or you leave, and this is an example. This person was not, they weren't getting it done. We bless them as they go, we leave it on good terms, but we actually use it as a promotion to our team of like, hey guys, we have integrity. We don't just preach this, we practice it, and I think it's a good thing to actually, sometimes lose somebody if the rest of the team gets the message that it's like, yeah, we have these standards.
Yeah, it's amazing how people get in line as soon as you do that, because it's like, okay, we know that, during the sales meeting we talk about this stuff, and on our one-on-ones we talk about this stuff, but when they actually see the consequence happen, and Grant Cardone has a great saying, it's if you don't have always, you have never.
Love that.
So it's like if we're not always looking at your numbers, if we're not always talking to you about what could be done better, then we never have it, right? It just it's a huge one. So
Well, that's awesome. Love it. Well, hey, Kevin, what would you say for you, and again, it could be, whatever. What would you say the big turning point for obviously, you're a successful guy. I mean, 180 homes, goal of 300 homes this year. Your team is cranking. You have an amazing culture. And even more so, you have an amazing lifestyle. If you wouldn't mind taking, 30 seconds to comment, I mean, you're living in Puerto Rico and Colorado, two of the best places on the planet, objectively, to live. What does that look like as far as your lifestyle goes? And obviously you're a top producer. And what would you say, the turning point to your success is to be able to live such an amazing life with your family?
you bet. Well, and I think the big thing was we just made a choice, right? It's like we created an action and said, okay, we only gave ourselves 6 months to get here. And one of the things that you have to look at is that if you don't make the choice, then it's a someday thing, right? So if you're not giving yourself deadlines, it's like, okay, by December 1st, I'm going to own a house in Puerto Rico. And, I had one under contract in June. It fell apart. They decided to take somebody else's offer after we were in agreement.
Right.
3 months later, that same house happened to come back on the market because their deal fell apart. And now I live in it. So I think karma goes a long way in that too.
Sure.
When you put a goal on something, right, a timeline on something, that's when the magic happens, right? It's like the last 2 minutes of a football game. It's more points are scored in that last 2 minutes than typically in the entire game.
Yeah.
Because now we're focused on a really small timeline.
Right.
And I think, people, and there's a lot of coaches out there, and I love all the other coaches. I mean, I coached for Tom Ferry, I coached for NAEA. They were all great people. When you're going 5-year plans and 3-year plans, and, those are all good, but they're too far out to really focus.
Yep.
Right? And so you have to break it into, and Darren Hardy again says, look, he goes, if you're going to climb to the top of the Empire State Building and you think about how many stairs there, how many steps that is, he's like, you'd never start. But if you put your foot on that first step and then go to the second step, eventually you're at the top.
That's right.
Right? And I think it's the same thing with anything you do. If you say, gosh, you know what? And this is something that we started with our new agents, right? Because when people come into the industry, they have no idea what's possible, right? Until they talk to the people in your office that are doing 4 deals a year.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, 1 1/4, that's going to be a good number for me. I'm just like Jim, who's been here for 5 years.
Nightmare.
Right? Instead, you just go, during the interview, it's like, okay, we expect you to really start out with a bang. So how many sales are you going to get the first month? Right? Okay. They're going to come up with this probably a crazy high number.
Right.
Right? And if they come up with a low number, you pick the wrong employee.
Yep.
Right? You pick the wrong agent. So we really want to make sure that the people that we're bringing on board have this ability to dream a number. And I can tell you, one of my agents who started in January had 8 sales in January.
What?
Yeah. Crushed it. I mean, killed everybody, right? It's like 8 sales in January. January is our slowest month in real estate, but she didn't know that.
She didn't know she couldn't do that. She didn't know that wasn't allowed.
Right. So we tend to throw these preconceived notions at people, and we're actually limiting what it is they can do.
Wow. That's interesting. That's there's a lot there. Yeah, I mean, limiting beliefs are huge, right? I mean, even sometimes when you look at your goal, you have to look and see, am I limiting myself? Is this goal crazy enough for me to even be excited about to go for, right? Because goals should be kind of crazy. They're dreams with deadlines, right? So a dream should be something that excites you. And I remember having dinner with you guys in San Diego a couple years, and you guys were telling me, just a couple years ago, telling me about Puerto Rico. And I'm thinking, oh, cool, like people tell me this kind of stuff all the time. Maybe, maybe in 10 years they'll be doing it, or maybe they're like everybody else and they're just talking about it. And then, sure enough, we're doing this Google Hangout. You're in Puerto Rico and you're living there. You're not just visiting. And it's just amazing to see that. But what you did is you made it a short timeline. You didn't say, right, the road to the road of someday leads to the place of Neverland. Right? So if you get into the some days, it just never happens, right? So, but what if you can break it down to like, hey, we're going to do this in 6 months. Now you got to get it done, and it's just amazing what you've been able to do. Incredible.
And when you look at that timeline, it's like, okay, what's missing in my business?
Right.
Right. So it's like a colonoscopy for your business, right?
Because you have to get it done. You're leaving in 6 months. You got to get it all done.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, but you have to really look at what's working, what's not. And right. What you find when you leave, right, when you exit the day-to-day, what you find is you identify your culture killers. And those are the people that you release. Because the goal has got to be that you're self-motivated. Right? Because Darren Hardy says, look, if I'm not a motivational speaker, because if I motivate an idiot, what do I have? Right? I got a motivated idiot.
That's beautiful.
So they've got to be self-motivated, they have to be self-disciplined, and they have to be self-managed. Right? Those are the other three that we look at when we're hiring.
Got it. Yeah.
Because if you come to me with every question that you have in real estate, I don't have a life, and I can't get done what I need to get done.
Yeah.
Right? And I know you were talking about time blocking a little bit, and there's time blocking, and then there's controlling that which is around you, right? Your phone, your email, texts, etc. And what you should do, I don't have to do it anymore, but what you should do when you're an agent or a team leader or an owner of an office or any business is re-record your voicemail every morning. And you say, this is what my day looks like. This is when I'll be looking at email and responding. This is when I'll be listening to my voicemail and responding. And because here's the answer I get on most voicemails from agents, right? Hi, I can't come to the phone. I'll call you at my earliest convenience. Well, what the hell is that? Right?
Right.
Your earliest convenience could be next day, next week, never, which is typical for agents, right? Yeah, no, I'm not interested in calling you. But once you've established when you're going to call them back, you're not going to lose business because you called them back at a set time. Right? They're actually going to respect you more because you're busy. Right? You don't go to the doctor, you don't go to the neurosurgeon and go, hey, I'd like to have some brain surgery done. Can you do it this afternoon? And they go, oh, yeah, come on back.
Right.
I'm not calling that brain surgeon. Right? And it's the same thing with us. There has to be this the whole Pop-Tart realtor thing doesn't work. So set your schedule. And one of the first things that we did before we moved here, we did it actually a long time ago with Amy, is we said, look, Saturdays and Sundays are ours, right? We've got 2 kids. We want to spend time with them. And so what we did is we changed your voicemail for Saturday and Sunday, and it said, look, I spend Saturdays and Sundays with my family. If it's an emergency, you can call my assistant. Right? We had more voicemails that were like, oh, I'm so sorry, it can wait till Monday, have a great time with your family. Right? So you have to control what you can control. And I see people checking their phones all the time, and it's like, it didn't even buzz, it didn't ding. It's like, what the hell are you that bored with your life that you have to look at your phone?
It's sad.
It's sad. So go get a life, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's become a disease, not even just in real estate, in life in general. It's like, is this thing the master of you, or are you the master of it? And that's what it comes down to. And
Sorry.
Speaking of the devil, I like it. Yeah, I mean, again, and I think the other thing I like about the voicemail thing, Kevin, I think that's a really great idea for people that are looking for things they can implement right away. What a simple thing. I think that does two things. Number one, it does set the level of expectation as a professional that, hey, I'll be looking at emails at this time, I'll be returning calls at this time. So you're setting that expectation, and you're also putting that out there into the world, and now you're like, I'm accountable, so I need to return phone calls. This is not just a time block. I'm putting the easiest person to let down is yourself, right? That's why coaching exists and all the rest of it. But if you put that out in the world, and you know that clients and people are hearing that you're calling them back between this and this time, well, now you're holding yourself accountable via that voicemail that, hey, you have to return calls in that time block. So I think there's a twofold kind of benefit there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and here's a statistic, right? We all like statistics. Is when you're interrupted with something, it takes you 16 minutes to get back to it if you ever do.
Right.
Right? So if you're in your office, and I used to get this all the time, and my agents learned very quickly, oh, have you got a minute? And I look at them, I go, no, and I go back to what I was doing.
Yep.
And what they learned is that, and I used to do management by walkabout. So the top of the hour, it's 11 o'clock. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to walk around, make sure nobody needs anything from me. But then I get to go back to my jam session. I'm sorry, hold on one second.
No sweat.
There we go. My lovely daughter is trying to FaceTime me.
Oh.
From downstairs. But yeah, so you don't get back to it. So right. Imagine, and a quick story, I had a guy, and I sell like 2 houses a year personally. And they're always over $1 million, right? And always, I get the client on a holiday when my agents don't want to go out. So this guy was a January, he was a New Year's Day guy. So I don't know if my agents were too hungover or whatever, but nobody wanted to go get him. So I went and showed him property. It was a bank-owned property. He had questions. He hadn't bought a house in 20 years. So he would call me like 8 times a day.
We've all had those.
Right. Had that guy, right? And it was always a 20-minute conversation. So how much of your day is left after that? Not much. So instead what I did is the next day is say, didn't take his calls. Right? But I changed my voicemail to say that I was in appointments all day, and that I would return them at 4. Mm-hmm. So at 4 o'clock I called him back, and he had left me a bunch of voicemails, and I'm like, hey, what can I help you with? Nice. 3 of them he had solved himself. He had a couple other questions that I was able to answer, and so 8 20-minute calls went to 1 20-minute call.
I love it.
So sometimes you have to let them get their own answers.
Yeah, absolutely. But it comes down to, you have to, just like we were talking about, just like removing yourself from your business or living a leverage lifestyle, you have to just do it. You can't be afraid. You can't come from that scarcity mindset or make a fear-based decision where I'm afraid to lose this client, so I'm going to do things the wrong way. You got to commit to doing things the right way, to the process that you want to have, that is right, and commit to that process, and the results will be what they are, and usually they're good. They're more effective. The client is happier, and it just works better. We do the same thing. One nugget that we've implemented is our team now knows, because we do weekly one-on-ones with our team, just like most people should. They ask themselves the first question they do before they bring it to, and they know not even to bring it to me. They bring it to Melissa, our office leader, first. Before they bring it to Melissa, is it something they can just add to their weekly one-on-one? Is this urgent? Is it urgent? Is it important? What is this? And is it something that can wait until my weekly one-on-one to bring it up? And usually they just put it on their task tracker, because they have a spreadsheet where they put everything down for their weekly one-on-one, so it's not just hey, what do you want to talk about? And so it's on there already, and if it's something that needs to be dealt with right away, then they bring it to Melissa, If them and Melissa can't solve it, then it ends up on my plate. But it's got to go through a couple filters before it ever gets to me. And my fear initially was, I want my team to like me, and I don't want to like have them not feel like they can just reach me. But then it's taking away from my job, which is marketing and business development. They don't want to do my job. I don't want to do their job. So we have to have a better system. And
Right.
it's been working amazingly. And I love setting that expectation with your team or with your clients. Where most of those issues they figure out themselves. And if not, you just took 8 20-minute phone calls and you turned it into one end of the day phone call where you can probably handle everything in that 20 minutes. But you
Right.
have to have those expectations.
Yeah, it comes down to being smart, right? And it what most people do is, again, they don't know what to do, right? We used to call them productivities versus activities. It's like activities get you nowhere, right? I can make an activity last forever. I can make a CMA take 3 hours, or I can make it take 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't have anything else to do, so my CMA takes up 3 hours.
Interesting.
Because now I'm busy, right?
And like you said, if you give yourself that amount of time, you'll take that amount of time to do it. So
Right.
you give somebody on your team 8 hours to do this task, they're going to take the full 8 hours. You give them 2 hours to do it, magically, they're going to do it in the 2.
Yeah, and we obviously, I've been coached, and we continue to coach, and I coach other people, but I've had the ability to steal from a lot of different coaching companies, right? And not steal in a bad way, but create my own knowledge. And one of the big things was the ideal weekly schedule. So what is it you should be doing? Because if we create a roadmap for you for what your week should look like, and we inspect what we expect, right? And we make sure that you're doing those things, and then at the end of the day, we send out an email that is set up on Boomerang, so I don't even have to send it, right? It just goes on its own.
Nice.
And it's based off a Google form, and it says, how many dials did you make today? Right? And they all have sheets where they put a slash through it if they made the dial, they put an X if they made a contact, and if they got an appointment, they circle it. They total those up at the end of the day, and they put it into this email for me, and then it fills out a spreadsheet. So I can look and see, okay, you went on this many appointments today, you set this many appointments, you made this number of calls. We win, right? Because that's the data we need.
Right. And when do you review those?
Every night.
Okay, nice. And those come up with your team on their weekly one-on-ones or whatnot?
They do. Yep. And we compare, last month to this month, because I want to make sure that they continue to be on track. Because
right.
I know what the end goal is, but if all you're doing is inspecting the end goal, and not the activities that make that happen, then you get to the end of the year and you didn't hit your goal, and you're going, gosh, I don't know why I didn't hit my goal. And it has everything to do with, did they do the activities to get you there?
Got it. Yeah, I mean, and that's what, and I think that's great. It's all about tracking. You can't grow something, and help somebody if you don't know what's going on. And I think that comes down to, if you're watching this hangout and you're not running a team, and you're just trying to do, hit your goal for the year of 15 or 25 or 50 deals or whatever it is, making sure that, should you be using a coach that's helping hold you accountable? Is there a way that you can get somebody in your office to do this with you, or is there a way that you can just track it yourself, right? If you have no money, or you're not interested in doing that right now, what system can you set up where you're tracking exactly what you're doing so that you can monitor your own progress? Maybe that's where you start.
Right. Yeah, and I think too many that, when you look at coaches, there's performance coaches and there's development coaches, right? And performance coaches are going to hold you accountable to numbers, right?
Right.
That you can get free with one of your peers, right? You don't need somebody that's going to ask you your numbers. Typically, if they're asking you what your numbers are, they're using them to make themselves look better to sell more coaching.
Got it.
Right? What they should be doing is trying to help you develop the systems to make it go better, right? To make it easier. You know, you should be reading things like the 4-Hour Work Week from Tim Ferriss, right? Is it plausible? I can tell you I don't spend much more than that a week in my business anymore.
Right.
You know, but you have to get past production and then not get drawn back. I know Jay Kinder always said, you know, just when I thought I was out, I get pulled back in, right?
Right.
And that happened not once or twice.
Right. Absolutely. So, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, I was going to ask you. So, you know, talking about systems and leverage and whatnot, I know that you know, your team, I believe, is using a system now that's called Steady Agent, and I don't know if you want to mention that or talk about that at all. But you know, you again, being that, you know, you've kind of exited the business, you have this amazing life, you lived in Colorado, then you lived a few months in Puerto Rico, and all the rest of it. Obviously, you're doing that. You're running your business through people and systems. You know, I know that you guys are using that system. If you wouldn't mind talking about maybe that system, or what technological system for your business would you say is the most important leverage piece that you guys really count on?
You bet. You bet. You know, and I'm not going to do a shameless plug for Steady Agent, but I'll just tell you how we developed it. Right? We looked at how can we provide consistent 5-star Zillow reviews, or 5-star reviews, period, with our clients, right? Regardless of which agent, new, experienced, you know, etc. How can we make that process repeat?
Got it.
Okay, so I spent about a year whiteboarding the process, right? Looking at psychology, because there's a definite psychology and a psychological wave, if you will, highs and lows when people buy property, right? We put our offer in, it's accepted. Woohoo! Energy levels through the roof, right? We get to the inspection, and all of a sudden, the energy levels through the basement, because this came up and that came up, and we don't want them to fix everything, right? Even though we've already consulted them that this is health and safety issues, and not just the door doesn't close on the, you know, laundry room.
Right.
So what we did is we took that psychology and basically tried to flatline the emotion out of the transaction so that they understand that it's a business transaction. What we do is we educate using videos and well-placed emails so that those things are happening when they're freaking out the most.
Interesting.
Right? It triggers phone calls. You know, here's the script for that phone call. Because what we want is people to be able to just lay it out.
Right.
Right? So that's what the system was built on. It's actually built within Infusionsoft, which personally I think is the best CRM out there. If you get anything from anybody, it's built in Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
You know, so it's an add-on. It's not Infusionsoft. If you already have Infusionsoft, this is just an add-on to it. It takes from basically lead capture to past client.
Nice. Love it. And yeah, it's steadyagent.com too. And again, you know, shameless plug here, whatnot. I'm just a big believer in systems, and I think that, you know, what it sounds like there is that this is really a system for managing the client experience, right? And there's so many times where we go flying off the seat of our pants because this comes up or that comes up. We don't know what to say, how to manage this, how to manage that, and this seems like, you know, the system for being able to manage that client experience, so they, you know, they're script, you know, they know how it needs to be handled. And I think it's great. And you know, anything that we can do to not have to just kind of go off of feeling and not know how to handle things when they come up is great. So, you know, thank you for developing that, you know, for people to use. I know that you know, you developed that because there was a problem and you needed to solve it in your business, and now you're rolling it out to have other people use it. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's, you know, and when you look at that customer experience, right, and we all have it. It doesn't matter what our business is. You want the same level of service up here to happen all the time. And what happens, I think, with most agents is you're an agent, you're a really good agent, and then you say, gosh, I need leverage.
Right.
Right? So then you hire some people, but you don't really have any systems in place for those people to have the same level of service that you have. And what ends up happening is people call and they're asking for you, and they don't want to be pushed off on somebody because they want that really good service that you had, and your people aren't actually providing that.
Right. Right. Love it. Well, hey, we'll get that link sent out to people so so you guys can take advantage of it or check it out. But yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. And again, just to kind of wrap it up here, I just want to kind of finish off with one thing, because I think we got a lot of really good nuggets that I'm noticing here. Just standards and accountability, focus. Planning, like having a business plan, having a marketing plan, and having it, well in advance, 3 to 4 months in advance, just really running your business like a business. And I think the biggest change, to get rid of kind of the marginal agent, the agent that's frustrated and whatnot, is for real estate agents who are essentially salespeople to make that transition from salesperson to business owner, or to business person at the very least. What would you say for people that are still caught up in the 7-day-a-week grind of being a top listing agent or a top salesperson or whatnot? How do they start mindset-wise, not even system-wise, but mindset-wise, make that transition from top salesperson to business owner or business person?
You bet. I think first transition piece is get out of buyers. Right? Buyers take up time. So that's the first piece you want to leverage, is get somebody to start working with your buyers so that you can concentrate on listings. Because now you can manage your time.
Got it.
So buyers pop in and they're like, oh, we want to go see property, and then it's 4 hours or 5 hours. We have a rule. You get to see 5 properties. Right?
Setting that standard, setting that expectation, another theme there.
Right. We're going to show you the 5 best properties in your price range. And based on that, we're going to come back to the office. And if you want to change your price range, we can do that. Or you can choose from one of the 5.
Got it.
Right? Because and for new agents out there, I think one of the biggest things is preview, 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 preview. Your only job is to preview. It's to know the market, to know the inventory. Because you know the inventory, nobody's going to ask you how long you've been in the business.
Got it. Love it. Awesome. So for those of you that are looking to start being more leveraged, I mean, just start implementing that. I love that. 5 best properties. Go back to the office. You want to change your price range? These are the 5 best. Why make it more complex than it needs to be, right? Complexity is the enemy of execution, right? So keep it simple. I love that, and I love that, again, it keeps coming back to what we're talking about, which is standards and setting the right expectation, whether it's for your team or, if you're not the leader of a team, for your clients. Right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Looks like we got a question that came in from Thomas. We got that answered and whatnot. So we have anybody else? Let's see. If you have a question, go ahead and send it to us now or forever hold your peace. We'll kind of leave it open. And again, just to reiterate with Steady Agent, it's powered by Infusionsoft. Just like, I think Tony Robbins' whole systems for everything is powered by Infusionsoft, but it's not, we're not, promoting it, Infusionsoft, Infusionsoft is fantastic, best CRM for sure. This is something that's powered by Infusionsoft and is available to anybody. So not sure if that answers the question, but if we have any more questions, and Thomas, we can get with you individually and whatnot after. So we're going to go ahead, and this is going to become live. We're going to get this blasted out on Facebook. It'll come in email drips. If you have questions, it's going to go on our Sharp Retention YouTube channel. Kevin will send you the YouTube link. Feel free to add it to your channel as well. So if there's questions after, people can comment on it, or you can reach us directly. Again, you can reach me directly, adam@sharpretention.com. You can email me directly, or you can call me. Obviously, we're here to help you with any of your closing gift needs. And Kevin, if people want to reach you, if they have an amazing referral, what part of Colorado, if they have a referral for, should they send it to you? What's the best way? Feel free to get obviously Kevin has a great team, 8 agents, all doing over 25 deals a year and whatnot. If you have a referral in Kevin's area, smart to send it his way if you want it to be handled with high standards. So Kevin, what's the best way to get in contact with you if people have a question about Steady Agent, or if they have a referral in your area? What's the best way for them to contact you?
You bet. So it's either Kevin at the Smits team, SMITS, no H, team.com, or Kevin at steadyagent.com will get you either way. Phone is 787-900-9997, or just DM me on Facebook.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you adding value and giving back not just to us, but to everybody that's going to watch this hangout that we're having. And we'll go ahead and take it off air. You guys have a great rest of the stay in Puerto Rico, which I know you'll be there for a couple more months. And we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Sounds great. Thanks, man.
Thanks. Bye.